Welcome to my very first live. This is all brand new to me. I have never done this before. I actually am not sure exactly what I am doing, but I thought that I'd come today to see how it works, and I thought that I would try to see if we have anybody who wanted to join and ask some questions. I do have my daughter Livia on the chat. She is over here on the floor, so if I look down,
Hello.
It's because she's over here to my left. I did have some things I wanted to talk about today, so that if there aren't very many people, I do still have some things to say that people might be interested in, and they can watch it after the fact. So some of the things that I've done is I've gotten some questions and prepared some answers about sewing in general, just in case some people wanted to improve their sewing, to maybe they're beginners and they want to figure out how they can be better. Maybe you are already a sewist and we're up to 3 people.
Can't edit out your bloopers now, Mama.
I can't edit my bloopers. I'm just getting good at editing, and now I can't edit when it's live. So I thought that you could ask me questions if you had any sewing related questions, or you can go ahead and ask me personal questions if you'd like. I can't guarantee that I will answer them because I do still want to be somewhat private in my life, but feel free to do that if you'd like. Like I said, this is a test go. This is just trying to figure out how the live works. Eventually, my goal is to do live sew-alongs. People can prepare their, we can all get the same pattern for free online, and then we can sew along together. I would have to have multiple cameras set up and a way to figure out how to do all of that. So there's some research I still have to do in order to do that. But thank you so much for joining me, the 3 of you, for now. We'll see if we get anybody else. I have some basic questions that I thought people might like to know. If there is anything that you would like to know, please go ahead and put that in the chat. My printer was having a heck of a day today, so printing these off was very difficult for me. Let's see. The first question is it possible to hand sew a pattern that is written with the intention of machine stitching? Well, I don't know why you'd want to. Hi, Dawn, how are you? Hand stitching is not my favorite thing. I've mentioned this before. I am a machine sewist through and through. Even when I quilt, I don't hand sew. I do prefer to use a machine, but it is always possible to hand sew clothing, to hand sew things. You're going to really have to get good at the consistent length of stitches if you are hand sewing, because when you open a seam, if the stitches are too far apart, then you will have a gap and you will see it in the seam. The only thing that I tend to hand sew is if I'm doing an invisible zipper in a dress or in a skirt. I will hand sew those. We're up to 5 people. Welcome, everybody. Just to let you know, we're just asking questions and answering, and if you'd like to say hi in the chat, please do so. And if you have any questions, go ahead. They don't have to be sewing related. You could ask me whatever you'd like. If you want to know anything about my class or anything that I do, my sewing projects. I have lots of things that I would like to do when it comes to my sewing. I just don't have time right now. So the next question is, do I use digital PDF patterns? I do use digital PDF patterns mostly for small things because I'm not a lover of the PDF pattern. I find the PDF pattern, when you are buying them for garments and then you are putting them together, you have all of these little pieces of paper. You have to cut out the pattern, then you have to tape it all together, and then it falls apart when you're when you're making it. So it's not absolutely the best way to do it. But what I have just found out is I found out 2 different ways to use PDF patterns effectively if you're doing some garment sewing. You can find a local print shop to print it onto recycled or blueprint paper. Not the architect paper. The architect paper is very expensive. So you have to make sure, especially at a place like Staples, that you specify that you want the cheapest version of the big format paper, because I do know somebody who sent it to them and didn't specify, and she ended up paying $90 for a pattern. So you want to make sure that you're getting that cheaper $6 a sheet version. I know UPS has large format printers, and there excuse me, there is a local to us here, there is a fabric store in Burlington that does large format printing of PDF patterns also. So really you just have to look around. If you get onto Facebook, onto some of the sewing groups, you can have you can ask that kind of question, and there's lots of people who would tell you, you know, give you their resources. The other thing I found out was people are using projectors. So they're attaching projectors up to their ceiling, and they're getting the projector file when they get their PDF, and they project it down onto their cutting surface. Hi, Suzette. And they project it onto their surface, and then they cut out their pattern that way. I don't know that I could attach a projector to my ceiling, because I would probably, I'm so klutzy, it would probably fall down. Excuse the dishes. There's a boy in the other room doing the dishes. I apologize. So I want to, I have thought about doing the projector and projecting it onto a blank wall and hanging paper and sketching it that way. So I think that that might work. Look, we're up to 7 people. Hi, everybody. But I do find PDF patterns convenient for things like purses and bags. I do have some favorite bag designers, and their patterns are wonderful and easy to cut out. And I generally make a template for those ones that I use regularly. As you all, well, most of you probably seen that template. Hi, Pat. You've probably seen that template video where I show you how I use the dollar store placemats to make templates. And I do find that if I am making something on a regular basis, that those templates are really awesome and very handy to have. And then I don't have to worry about my losing pieces or just retaping things.
You mentioned favorite bag designers. Do you have examples?
My favorite one is Lynn's Handmade Designs. So Linds, Lynn's Handmade Designs. Her bags are phenomenal. Her wallets are fantastic. You can use canvas, vinyl, cottons, and she is American, and she has the most supportive Facebook group I have ever been on. They have over 10,000 people. Everybody posts their stuff. It's like this giant loving community. It's awesome. And she does have quite a few bags that I really love. So we're up to 9 people.
Wow.
So I want to, I will be doing a show and tell of some of the bags of hers that I have made in the near future. As you all know, I have been talking about the month of July being my bag month. I plan on making bags all summer. So I'm very excited for that. And that's what I've been buying all these vinyls for. Oh, the cleanup clutch. Suzette, I totally want to do that one too. I haven't done it yet, but my chiropractor's having a baby, and I'm going to make her that for her shower gift. So I'm very excited. Maybe we could do a sew along, but I'd have to ask permission. But we'll see. We'll see what she says. So what else? Regarding sewing and cutting with large amounts of fabric, do you generally lay the fabric on the floor to cut, or do you cut on a table? Dawn says she likes bags and would like to make a few different styles. Yeah, I'll tell you, Dawn, you want to check out Lynn's Handmade Designs. Her bags are fantastic. And really, I mean, they're so fast for people who have sewn before and great for beginners. So the question was, where do I cut? Well, I do have a table that has extensions on either side. So it's the table that's in front of me right now, and it has an extension that comes on the right, an extension that comes on the left, and it's quite long. It's about 6 feet when it's all the way up. No problem, Don. But it's not tall. And for those of you that haven't been watching very long, you might not know that I am 6 feet tall. Well, not quite 6 feet. I used to be 6 feet. I've shrunken.
You were never 6
Okay,
feet.
I was 5'11" and 3/4.
You can't round. You can't get mad at me for rounding.
I can round. I was 5'11" and 3/4 growing up, and I am 48 years old, so I've shrunk a little bit. Anyway, so I find that cutting is not comfortable when I'm sitting and the table's too small. So I need to buy those risers to put on my table so I can cut on my table. But generally I use my family room floor. And if I'm worried about the floor itself, I just put my cutting mat on the floor and then I go from there. So that's where I cut. Where do you guys cut? Let's get some interaction. How do people cut their fabric?
Ooh, up to 9.
I got 9. 9 people and 3 thumbs up. Way to go. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
What's another question that was asked? Oh, what's the basic difference between a dry iron and a steam iron, and which one should I buy? I think that everybody has a preference as to what they like to do with irons. Some people don't even like to use irons, and they'll use a tailor's clapper. A tailor's clapper is just a piece of wood that has been made, and you use the wood to press. Dawn cuts on the table in her sewing room. Nothing special. Is it tall, Dawn, or is it just a regular table height? So the steam iron, a steam iron has a water tank, and it generates enough steam through the holes. Pat, she has a cutting table. Yeah, I can't cut sitting down either. So the steam iron has a water tank, and it generates steam through holes and that are on the sole plate. And the steam helps to make the iron, I mean, the wrinkles go faster, obviously. If you want to use a light starch, that helps as well. And a dry iron doesn't have water. Why would you use why would you use one over the other? Irons over time, if you leave water in an iron, it will rust in the inside, and then you are playing Russian roulette with your fabric if you use a fabric or use an iron that has had water in it, because you never know if you're going to stain your fabric or not. Some people just keep a dry iron, and they use a okay, you got to help me out because these are faster.
Sorry. So here, Pat Wilson says he has a large table that he cuts on. She cannot cut sitting down. I have to be standing with the rolly eye emoji.
Absolutely, me too.
Susan says, I have a drop leaf craft table for cutting, but can only stand 3 minutes at a time. It makes for a tedious operation.
Oh, I could imagine.
Dawn says, something from IKEA that looks like sawhorses and just a piece of plywood on top and my cutting mat on top of that.
And I saw those, Dawn. Those sawhorses, they do raise quite a bit. That might be the best way for me to go.
And Suzette says, I have 2 large tables together with cutting mats and pressing stations.
Oh, lovely. And the pressing station, I think that's a real big thing right now, because people are like, some people put their pressing stations on wheels and they move them around, and they don't use ironing boards. Oh, I totally lost that word. A senior moment, sorry. Not quite senior moment, but you know, concussion moment.
Nope.
I can't blame the concussions anymore.
You can't do that anymore. It's been too long.
Okay, so anyway, brain fart. So, So some people don't use an ironing board shape anymore. They actually use like a table and they put it on top of a station and they iron that way. And if I had more space, I think I would probably go with that. I do have an ironing mat, and my ironing mat is this big, and I just plop that right down on my table and I just iron on the spot when I need to iron. But yeah, some people use a squirt bottle with a dry iron, and then that's kind of the best of both worlds, and it works really well. Next question. Why should I pre-wash my fabric after I buy it? Okay, pre-washing is a whole debate on its own. So if you are a quilter and you don't garment sew, you probably don't pre-wash. Or you may pre-wash, but you don't pre-wash everything. Some quilters will pre-wash big pieces of fabric, but if they're using a jelly roll or a charm pack or smaller pieces of fabric that are pre-cut for them, they won't, because if you did wash those, they'd get all jumbled up and they'd start to fray and it would be a big old mess. But garment fabrics should always be washed before you sew, and that's to make sure that you have covered the shrinkage. I have had students who didn't pre-wash their fabric, and they ended up losing 3 inches on their pajama pants, and they were upset. But I can only direct them to do it. At school, we do have a washer and dryer that the kids can use, but sometimes they forget to do it. They're just so eager to get started. But I always pre-wash my fabrics. Now, I don't pre-wash them as soon as I get them, and I probably should, but I am pretty good at remembering what I've pre-washed and what I haven't.
Want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. I am about to make a messenger bag / fanny pack combo to use as a purse when out in my electric wheelchair. So Sweetness offered her Kennedy bag pattern for free. Have you made any of her bags?
Oh, So Sweetness is fantastic. I get her newsletter, and many of her pouches are my favorites. I haven't made any of the bigger ones, so that's something I would definitely take a look at. And the other thing about a tip about washing your fabric is that the raw edges, Susan's actually saying it.
I searched the raw edges of new fabric and then pre-washed it so I can always tell if it's been washed already.
That's right. And something I do too is I run the fabric through my serger on the edges that are not the selvage edge. For those of you who are new and don't know, when you have a piece of fabric, I'll just grab a piece of fabric here. When you grab a piece of fabric, you can see, like right here, how there's a little woven piece there that looks like it's machine made. That's where it attaches to the loom, the electric loom, and they make the fabric, and that's called the selvage edge. And the selvage edge is always a square edge, and it will never unravel on you. But these edges here that have been cut by somebody, those will start to fray when you wash. So I generally run that edge through my serger, and then I can throw it in the wash and not worry about losing a couple inches with fraying. And then I'll tell you, I have had loads of laundry that are all tied up in long strings and had to pull them apart and then iron them all, and it wasn't pretty. So I'll tell you, it changed my life when I started to serge those edges before I washed them.
We have a question from one Kathy Nolan. She says,
Kathy?
I'm a newbie, so here's a very basic question. I have Tex 40 thread I use sometimes for my top thread, but can I use that in my bobbin too? If not, what should I use in my bobbin?
Okay, good question, Kathy. Actually, you should always use the same thread in the top and the bottom, because then you will prevent tension problems due to the difference in thread dimension. Now, if you are doing something like smocking, you would actually put an elastic, thread on your bobbin, and then that's what helps make the smocking. But otherwise, every time you sew, you should be using the same thread in the bobbin as on the top. Now, a Tex 40 is a pretty strong thread. I use the Tex 40 for I use a Tex 40 and a Tex 60 for my my girl Daisy over here. So this is Daisy. Daisy is my industrial cylindrical arm walking foot machine. She is what I make all of my leather and vinyl bags out of, and she uses a Tex. Let's see if I remember what this one is. No, that one doesn't say. Of course it doesn't say. Let's see this one. Text 45. Yeah. So that's just some information about threads. But thanks for your question, Kathy. I really appreciate that. We are up to 18 viewers. Welcome, everybody. I thought I'd have one, my friend. But anyway, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. Oh, thanks, Kathy. I appreciate that. Anytime you guys have questions, I do have an email. I'm going to have Livia put it in the chat. If you had any questions and you wanted some help, you feel free to email me. It is yoursewingteacher568@gmail.com. And I already have about 4 people from my little community here who have started to email me and ask me questions. So please feel free to use that email if you are stuck and you need help. I can't guarantee that I can always help, but I can do my best for sure. And we're up to 22 people. Yay, that's so exciting. Okay, let's see. Next question.
Daniel Frost says, not trying to be rude, but what's the point of sewing when you can just buy clothes? So you can talk about like sustainability if you'd like, Mom.
Thank you, Daniel. Well, first off, when I was a kid, my mom would sew and she would make our clothes out of her old clothes and my dad's old clothes, and it would save money. So fabric was cheaper then. Fabric was cheaper there then, and it did help with the economics in the family to reuse clothes that were still in good shape. And then we really got into some fast fashion territory. The Zara brand really started to, we used to have 4 seasons, and we would have like 4 sets of clothes would come out in the stores every year. And the Zara brand, he started doing weekly collections, and they would actually send out brand new clothes to the store every week. And by doing that, it created this economy of buy, and people just wanting to buy more things. And when you could get 3 t-shirts for $10, let's do that, why not? And then you go on YouTube and you see these young girls with these giant bags of clothing that they bought at the store that they really won't get much wear out of. I talk with my students about the fact that, you know, they buy these t-shirts for $10, and then we talk about sewing is fun. Thanks, Jim. And we talk about the fact that the clothes start to fall apart very quickly, you know, 2 washes, 3 washes. But we also talk about what's the life cycle of a $10 t-shirt and how much is everybody getting paid, and then what kind of damage is happening on the environment when it actually comes down to all of the travel and the carbon footprint of all of the things. So when we take clothes from a thrift store or from somebody else in our family and we use those clothes and we remake those clothes into something else, we're giving it a second life and we're keeping it out of landfill. So when it comes to sewing, we can make better quality. We can make sure that we are using a better quality fabric. We are sewing it better. We're making sure that we lock our front stitches and our back stitches, and we know what we're making is for us. So it's just generally, that's kind of the mindset when it comes to it. If you are making yourself a t-shirt, it will cost you more than $10 to make that t-shirt, or just around $10, but you will know that that's been made in a better way and will last longer. So it's a more sustainable and more quality driven product. So thanks for that question. I could talk about that part forever. That's a whole part of my curriculum in my classroom. So thank you.
Marley's Monoler says, where would I find the bag patterns? I assume she's talking about the lady you were talking before.
So there are lots of bag patterns out there. There's lots of designers that have free bag patterns and patterns to purchase. Um, Actually, most bag pattern companies, if you go onto their Etsy shops or their websites, they offer for free patterns as well as to purchase patterns. My favorite is Lynn's Handmade Designs and So Sweetness. They are some of the better ones that I have tried out. I'm actually doing a pattern testing. Um, I think I need to make it this week. Yeah. She is Lanyos, and she is very fantastic. Oh, I love raglan sleeves. Jim's talking about how he thinks that raglan sleeves are the future. I make all of my sweaters for my son and t-shirts as a raglan because I just think that that's um, a much better built shirt, and it lasts a lot longer. Fewer issues, but so can you find Lynn's Handmade Designs and So Sweetness on the internet and put it in the chat, please?
Lynn's Handmade Designs?
Lynn's Linds. Yes. Next question. Sometimes when I wind the bobbin, it gets all wound underneath. What am I doing wrong? Oh, bobbins. So, there's so many things that affect the tension on a sewing machine. And when you are building a bobbin on the top of your machine, well, not all of them are on the top of the machine. There are some that are on the front of the machine, but when you are building your bobbin, it is very important that you follow those little arrows on the top of your machine to make sure that it's going in the right direction and that it has the right, you're welcome, Marlies, and it has the right amount of tension when you're building that bobbin. If you have any pulls or tags or anything happens while you're making that bobbin, it can create a part of the bobbin will be tight and a part of it could be loose, and that's part of the problem. Now, you're not supposed to touch the bobbin as it's winding. If you do touch the thread as it's building on there, then you're gonna stop it from doing its I don't know, I don't have a word for it.
Its job, its purpose,
it's
completing
the purpose of
its task.
The purpose of that thread going on that bobbin maker is that it will actually layer it perfectly with the right amount of things. So with the right amount of tension. So it is really important to not touch it when it's building. If it is by accident going underneath all the time, start with your thread up through the top of the bobbin and wind it a few times at the top of the bobbin, then put it on this winding spool. The worst part about being live, forgetting words. And then put it on the spool and then start winding. And if you have the thread at the top, then it will start by going below. If you have the thread going towards the bottom of the bobbin when you put it on, it might just skip and then start winding underneath the bobbin. So that could be part of the problem.
So Suzette says, I'm a bag maker and I'm intimidated by making clothes. I hope to learn some tips from you to try something easy. So what's an easy garment to start with?
Oh, an easy garment to start with is always a pajama short or a pajama pant. And a basic t-shirt. Those are probably the easiest things to do if you're looking to make an actual piece of clothing. My video for the shorts is one of the first videos. It's the third project that my students do, and they tend to be able to follow along on that video and not have too many mistakes. Then the next step up from that is to try the pajama pant with the pocket. Now, I'm telling you right now, there is more to sewing with bags than there is to sewing with garments, especially simple garments. So like you have transferable skills for sure. So just remember that it's all about the practice. So if you make a pair of pajama shorts and you get it done, immediately make another pair, because it's that practice from 1 to the other and learning from any little mistakes you made the first time, that the second time you make it, it will take you a fraction of the time, and you will have learned from any little mistakes that you had missed in the first time. So I always have my students double up on their projects, and they always want to hand in the second one. They never want to hand in the first one. And I say that's okay. I mean, if you look at designers and people who are drafting clothing for themselves, they usually make a muslin, or they make a version out of a cheaper material first to check the fit, to make sure that it works really well for them, and then they make the one that they want to wear to that special event. So making the same thing more than once will definitely help when it comes to creating what you're looking for with the quality that you want. And don't be intimidated by garments. Garments are actually easier. We're gonna have in the next couple weeks a video on how to make underwear and some bralettes. So those are gonna be really great. I might do a men's boxer brief as well, because I really think that making something basic like that you can, you know, use an old t-shirt that's been torn. You can use an old t-shirt to make a pair of cotton underwear. You know, it's really handy to for people who are looking to be sustainable and to keep textiles out of the dumps. It's really good. Any other questions?
No.
No questions right now? We're down to 15. At the most, we were at 22. I guess I'm getting boring. Better not get boring.
Dinner time for most people.
Oh, dinner time. Yeah. So, why don't you let me know where you're from and what time zone you're in, and maybe this can help us figure out what we should do in the future. We were really trying to hit the people who were in the UK, in Australia, and in North America.
Make sure everybody
And
could
try and make sure everybody could watch if they could. But, oh, we're down to 16.
Up to
Okay.
17. It's fine.
Oh, is it fine?
Things are allowed to fluctuate.
Things are allowed to fluctuate. I feel bad. Okay.
Oh, dog.
All right. So, my next question, since you guys haven't given me one, I'm going to talk a little bit about patterns. Colorado and Chicago. Look at that.
A lot of Americans here.
A lot of Americans today. Okay. Let's see. So, let's talk Arizona. Let's talk about Patterns, New Jersey. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All Americans.
Ohio. No, my friend from town is here. I don't know if she's still here, but she was here.
Everyone who's commented their location is American.
Yeah. North Carolina.
Hey, North Carolina.
Oh, thanks, Donna. I worked and lived in North Carolina for just under a year. North Scotland, New York City. There's my friend Dawn. Okay, so we are talking about patterns, and people are asking, are there many pattern brands that offer a plus size option? Now, one of the things that's really big in the sewing world right now is inclusivity, and trying to make sure that we are being inclusive for people of all sizes and all walks of life. And so there are some pattern companies that are really doing their best to branch out and make their sizes fit up to about a size 32. And it's really important to really look around, because you want to make sure that you are purchasing patterns and supporting companies that are all about inclusivity, because it is very important in our world that we be good humans. So one of my favorites for plus sizes is Style Arc. Style Arc has patterns that are all sizes up to a 30. Helen's Closet is Canadian, out of BC, and they also have a wide range, and they also go up into the higher sizes. Let's see, Hot Patterns goes up to about a size 28. Rad Patterns, Broad Scenes, The Fold Line, and Love Notions all carry a broad range of patterns in many different sizes. Lacala is a really neat company. They do custom fit patterns. What happens is you key in your measurements and you select your favorite pattern of theirs, and then they generate a pattern for you. Now, for those of you who know what it's like to try to scale a pattern because you have a thinner waist and broader shoulders, or you have bigger hips and a smaller top, scaling a pattern is difficult. But to have a company like Lacala scale it for you and to be able to put your measurements into the computer and have them print that for you is worth every single cent. Let's see. If you're looking at some of the ones that are not PDF that you can buy at say a Fabricland or at other fabric stores, Berta magazines, they have individual magazines also that have plus sizes, and they publish their plus sizes with their traditional sizes. Jelly, Jalie, is out of Montreal, and their patterns are fantastic. You buy one pattern and it covers the gamut of sizes. That's my favorite pattern for making a onesie. It's the easiest pattern and it's so much fun, and I've made so many different animals out of those onesies. They're so much fun. And the Jelly, they go up to a size 22. Folkwear, F-O-L-K wear, has flexible, authentic vintage and folk patterns from all over the world and in many different sizes. So that's fun too. So I didn't mention all of them. I mean, the big four patterns, that companies, they also have some plus sizes, but generally they don't go up into the 20s and above. So something to look for. Let's see. Oh, when buying fabric, how many yards do you usually buy? Being a beginner and all, I don't really know what my next project's going to be, so how do I know how much to buy? This is a great question. Now, if you are like me and kind of love buying fabrics,
I think you should tilt the camera to...
Should I show them?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, for those of you that have never seen this side of my room, these cabinets.
Hello, from
down
your
on the
child.
ground is the child. Okay, this is the cabinetry that kind of holds all of the garment fabric. The behind me is all of the bag fabric, and then in front of me, which you can't see, is a dresser that's full of cotton wovens for quilting and mask making and anything else I need a woven for. So I have a fabric problem. If you don't know. And I have a huge classroom closet too. So if it overruns me here, I just take it to school. And then I let the kids use it at school.
It's not even including all the costumes and stuff.
Oh, and I make costumes. So
For musicals.
For musicals. So the costumes, that's going to be some of the videos I will show after September, because I have a show coming up in September through February. The final production will be in February. So I will be sharing some of my fun makes for the costumes as well. What question was I on? Oh, I was talking about fabric. Okay. I was talking about how much fabric to buy. So if you are just looking to make a simple t-shirt, you can make a simple t-shirt with a 1.25 yards. If you are looking for, or meter in a bit, if you are looking for just having a fabric, you fall in love with it and you want to just buy it, you don't know what you want to make out of it, I usually buy 1.5 meters to 2 meters, and sometimes I don't know what I'm going to make out of it. I do have hundreds of ideas in my head at all times. Like, I don't have enough time in my life to do all of the things I want to do, but I definitely have all of these ideas. But sometimes I get a fabric and I don't know what I want, but I love the fabric. So it's not until I have a moment or a day where I just want to make something for myself or for someone in my family, and I let that fabric talk to me. So I literally take out the 2 yards of fabric and I lay it on my table. I throw it over the mannequin. Arizona, it is 4:40 p.m. and 120 degrees.
I don't know what that is in Celsius.
That is a lot in Celsius. Oh, so much.
Dawn says, I'm very protective of my fabric. Good for you to let your students use it.
Yeah, you know, Dawn, there are certain things I would not take to school, but I mean, my budget is so little at school that if I overspend in my life, I take it to school
And
if
to be
it's not
fair,
going to get used here.
Your program gets a lot of donations, so a
Oh.
lot of the fabric is donated.
Yeah.
Fabric.
So I did mention my budget is like super small in my classroom. I get about, you ready for it, everybody? I get $8 per student per semester. So basically I can buy thread.
Sorry, I just looked up what 120 degrees Fahrenheit is in Celsius. It's
Yeah.
49 degrees.
49 degrees. That is so hot.
That's awful.
Okay, I would not be going outside in
No.
49 degree heat. Well, I mean, at least it's dry heat because it's Arizona. I mean,
it's still 49 degrees.
I know here it's so humid. I don't want to go outside when it's 30 degrees. So
Suzette says it's those grain and selvages and such.
grain
Grain.
and salvage.
I said that.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you said green.
I said grain.
Okay. So when I only have $8 of budget for my students, I have to find ways to save money. So that's why those sewing hack videos that are so popular with my viewers are really good, because that's how I save money. So I do all of those things in the classroom so that I can save money and buy things for the kids. Now, I do have a huge donation program. All of the stores and a lot of the seamstresses in the area know that I am always looking for resources and donations, and I do get a phone call every so often from somebody who needs me to come and clean out a room because you know, one of their family members has passed or can no longer sew. So I'm very, very grateful for the people who are able to do that. And sometimes people just drop off big garbage bags full of fabric in my classroom, and the kids go through it, and it's like Christmas time. The kids get so excited and very, very happy. So that's how we run the program, is mostly on donation. So I have a puppy dog in my lap. She is my sewing partner. This is Masha. You say hi to the people out there. Say hi.
She needs a haircut.
She gets a haircut on Monday. She's very excited we're not in lockdown anymore. Hey? Okay, I'm gonna put you down. Bye.
She's just gonna attack me for pets now.
Okay, there we go.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So when you hear the barking in the background, it's that one, and there's a baby one. So
He's not a baby.
Juanita will. Oh, when she finds a good deal, she buys 10 meters.
You do the exact same thing.
I
You
do.
do the exact same thing.
But you know what? Like, you can't pass up that great deal. You know, even if you don't need it right now, you might eventually. And I'll tell you, COVID taught me that, because I had
Fighting.
Open the door and let them out. Thank you. When COVID hit and we couldn't go anywhere and we couldn't buy anything, I had a huge stash of cotton wovens, and that's what I used to make all of those masks. And I mean, I stopped counting at 5,000 masks in August. So from March to August, I made 5,000 masks. And then I just stopped counting because I just don't think I could do it anymore. It was kind of, and I was doing them in very large batches. So I would do 100 at a time. So it was a lot. But I was able to actually deplete my whole cotton woven collection in that amount of time, and was so grateful that I had it. And they were fun and funky, and I had been hanging on to some of those fabrics for years and was very happy to see them get used and be given to people who needed them and wanted them, and to see, you know, the joy that a mask brought them, because, you know, they didn't think that they'd be able to get a mask with, you know, all these fun prints on them. So anyway, all right, so where are we? I would like to teach my granddaughter, who's 8, to sew and quilt. Is that a good age? Absolutely. I have some students that I teach sewing to outside of school, that are just local to here, and they are, hello, Melissa from Georgia. Thanks for joining us. Um, and and they are 8 and 10, and then I have another one who's 12, and they don't have any problems whatsoever learning, and they, people are always apprehensive about the needle, and we don't put our fingers in there. I mean, I've never had a major accident with my finger and the needle, even when I was, my mom taught me at 10, so there was never really an issue. So as long as you from the very beginning teach them, how to be safe. I do put glasses on the little ones, so if you are teaching someone who is little, I would put a safety glass on them, or if they have glasses of their own, that's really good. Whoa, it's windy in Indiana. Hi, Cheryl. So really, you could teach them as young as 6, to do simple things, especially if you have, a very basic machine that you can use to show them how to sew. Usually I start my students with a dull needle and a piece of paper, and I draw lines on that piece of paper and squiggly lines and circles, and I just teach them how to navigate the lines without any thread, and like I said, with an old needle, and that really helps them to learn how to not push or pull their fabric, but to just guide them. So okay, I don't know what's going on.
She's trying to hide from him behind you, and he wants to play.
Oh,
Honey, get up.
Okay, so my next question. The next question was, do I really need? We're up to 27 people listening to my dogs fight around us. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. So we're gonna go just till we're just gonna go for another. She's okay. We're just gonna go for another 15 minutes, and then we'll shut it down after an hour. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna keep going with the questions. If you have questions, go ahead and ask it in the chat. My daughter will read it to me, and I'll do my best to answer it for you. But thanks so much for coming. We're at 26 people with 13 likes. I like it. I like it a lot. So the next question is, do I really need a serger for sewing? Well, you can see in my background that I have a serger. I didn't actually have a serger until about 8 years ago. And I always sewed without one. And I find that at school, I don't teach the kids how to use a serger unless they've been in my class for 2 or 3 years. The serger is really fantastic for making clothing and to give it that professional finish and to make sure that it's put together really well. But you can do the same thing with a domestic machine, no problem. You can do a regular seam, and then on the edge of the seam allowance you can do an overcast stitch. Now an overcast stitch is when you have a zigzag that goes on the fabric, off the fabric, on the fabric, off the fabric. So your zigzag actually goes on and off the fabric all the way down the seam, and you do that after you do your regular straight stitch seam. And all that does is it just makes sure that there's no fraying. It makes sure that your edge is nice and clean and that it can get ironed down to one side. Now there is a train of thought there is a school of thought where people will overcast on one side and overcast on the other side. So what they'll do is they'll do their straight stitch seam, they'll open it up and they'll iron it flat, and then they'll have the 2 sides of the fabric and they'll overcast on this side, then they'll overcast on this side, and then it's ironed flat and it's a beautiful seam. So it isn't necessary to serge. It's definitely a preference thing. My serger is like my favorite kind of serger. I do have a couple different ones at school that have been donated to the program, but mine is a baby lock, Imagine, and she is self-threading. So there's like this little, okay, if you don't know this, sergers are a heck of a job to thread because the loopers and everything underneath goes way into the machine and it's hard to get your thread all the way over there. But my machine, you thread the thread into a little air hole and you thread it down and then you press a lever and it shoots it all the way through the inside part, and then you don't have to actually do any of the threading yourself. I bought it because of that. But then when I got it, I found out it didn't have any tension dials. So I never have to contend with tension issues on my serger ever. Now, I call it the Mercedes of sergers. It is a baby lock. If you don't know baby lock machines are pretty pricey. But I did buy it secondhand and I got it for about $700 8 years ago. And it is a workhorse. And it is fantastic, and I'm super glad that I have it. And when I'm doing garment sewing, I always use my serger. Now, I did just get a baby lock cover stitch. That's the one that's closest to the wall there, and that's new to me also. It was also used, and I also paid $750 for that one. And again, it's not a machine that you need because on your domestic machine, you can have a twin needle. Oh, hi, Eco Quilting. Thank you for joining. And you can, in your regular domestic machine, you can use a twin needle or you can use a triple needle, and you can do your top stitching on your knits with that. So it's not necessary. Really, the extra machinery is not necessary. People always ask me, you know, I see all these machines in your room. Now, this machine here, my Janome, this is an old Janome Memory Craft 9700. This is a embroidery machine and domestic sewing machine. And then I have the serger, then I have the cover stitch, then I have Miss Daisy, my industrial, and then I also have a spare machine in the basement that is just it's a Janome 535 Sewist, and it is just a little workhorse domestic machine, and it's a spare so that if something breaks, I have the extra. And then I have an extra serger that is that always has black on it. So I have a serger that always has white and a serger that always has black, and then I never have to change the thread. But
Okay,
we have a comment?
Yeah, two. So
Two.
Eco Quilting has a bunch of heart eye emojis.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Cheryl says, I didn't have a serger for about 30 years. It makes it nice, but it can be done. I remember when patterns had you use soft lace for seams and hems. Yes, I'm old.
Yeah, lol. Yeah, you know, I remember when my mom got her serger, I would have been about 14 or 15 years old, and my mom had been sewing since she was, you know, about 10 years old, making clothing for her brothers and sisters, and it wasn't really necessary. It was a frill. It was something that people couldn't really afford in her time, and so once she could afford one, she's like, I gotta buy it. So she bought it, and then she never really used it, and it still sits in a closet in her house. But yeah, it's not necessary, but it is really nice to have if you are making a lot of clothing. So we're up to 32 people. Thank you, everybody. And we have 19 thumbs up.
20 actually. Your thing's just outdated.
Oh, am I a little bit slow?
The computer says 20.
Okay. So I'm just going through questions that I have here. If you have any questions that you would like answered, please go ahead and put it into the chat. I think we are only going to stay here until 8 o'clock my time, so another
7 minutes.
7 minutes or so. So let's see what next question we have. Okay, I'm a beginner and I don't really know which sewing machine to buy. Is more expensive really better? What is a good casual machine? So machines are divided into two categories. You have domestic machines, which are meant to be like home sewing machines, and then you have industrial machines, which are meant to be like factory machines and workhorses, ones that work that get used every day. Now, I sew every single day, and I sew at school, and my students sew every single day, and we just have domestics at school. And we have Janome 535 Sewists, and we have the 319 Student. And those are phenomenal machines. They sit at about $500 before tax, and you can always get them on sale for about 300, at least in Canadian dollars here. But a Janome is a really fantastic machine. Now, I've had machines donated to my program that are Husqvarna. I've had some Singers and some Brothers. All machines are really are good. I would steer away from machines that you can purchase at Walmart or sometimes Costco and Canadian Tire. And the reason why I would say that you stay away from those lower price point machines, the ones that are sitting at about $100 and $150, is because those machines are made out of mostly plastic parts on the inside. So when a part goes, it can't be replaced. Whereas if you actually go to a sewing machine store and you purchase something that is over the $200, $300 price point, and really just hang out and watch for sales, because there are always sales. But those machines are meant to be fixed if they're broken. So the machines that I have at school, we've had those machines since 2009, and they get used every single day. They get serviced every 2 years. And the service is about $80, and then they fix any problems that there are with the machines. And those, like I said, it's a workhorse. To actually be able to use a machine every single day, have beginners using them and, you know, yanking on things they're not supposed to be yanking on, are really good. So if you go with a machine that is a little bit of a higher price point, then you're definitely in an area where they can get repaired, and not everything on the inside is made out of plastic. Now, if you go to a thrift store and you pick up a sewing machine that someone has left there and it's heavy, then that means everything on the inside is made out of metal. Take that machine and you take it to a sewing machine store and you have them, as long as it works electrically, then you take it to the sewing machine store and have them do a service on it. That machine will probably last you another 20 years. All those machines that have been made out of metal, the older machines, they are meant to last. And do they ever last? I mean, I have a Singer that I purchased for my mom that is a 1920 machine. It's been converted. It's a fantastic machine. She loves it, and really nothing ever goes wrong except she has to change the belt on it. She also has original Sears Kenmore machine. She has another Singer. She has a Brother. Those machines that have all of these metal pieces, they're meant to last, and they do. But you just have to make sure that you understand that you have to oil them.
We have a few more comments. I'm just
Comments?
gonna read them out.
Okay.
So Albert says, when looking to buy a Serger, what are the most important things to consider?
Okay, so Albert, the Serger is a tricky one, because you want to make sure that it has a differential feed on it. So a differential feed means that it's going to either pull your fabric or it's going to squish your fabric when it's creating that seam. And the reason why that's important is because if you're using a super stretchy material and it goes through the feed dogs and the feed dogs stretch it, then you're going to have a stretched out seam. But if you put the differential feed on low into the negative, it will know that it's a stretchy fabric and it will scrunch it together so that there is no stretching. So that's an important thing to make sure it has. It's not imperative that it has an air feed. Just make sure that you get all of the threading tools to make sure that you can thread it really well. And you want to make sure that it, if you're buying it used from someone, that you're able to have the manual, because you want to make sure that you understand all of the tensions. So that's really all you need to make sure.
We have a bunch more comments. I'm just going to read them all
Okay,
out.
go ahead.
So John says, maybe with people all over the world and many joining in the last half, I wonder if you should do an 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start. Probably a good idea to push it back about an hour.
Okay.
Good comment.
Okay.
Susan says, I love my Imagine, a gift to myself 11 years ago. Eco Quilting says, I'm going to go back and catch what I missed. Congrats on the new developments of your channel.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. Dawn, you're probably right about the time. That is probably something that we'll have to think about. Does anybody want to stay on here for a little bit longer? If anybody has any questions, well, I can stay on for a few more minutes if you'd like.
I'll just finish reading these comments.
Okay, go ahead.
By the way, Albert says thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Albert.
Dawn says, I've considered a Serger too, but after listening to you, I think I'll pass. Unless I got a used one that was a good deal. But I would also like one that self-threads like your baby lock.
So not only does the baby lock, it's no longer the only one that air threads. Janome does have an air threading machine now, but that is about $1,000 for that Janome, and it does have tensions. So really I would watch for a baby lock Imagine, because, well, and not just the Imagine. Baby Lock has a few that have no tension and have the air lock. So, oh, thanks, Cheryl. She's gonna stay until I kick her off.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna go.
okay, I'm losing my moderator, so you're gonna just have to be patient with me. I'm gonna be reading the chat, and I'm going to be
This is my replacement.
okay, no, she can't stay. Okay, so so where were we? So Eco Quilting, I don't know your first name, I'm sorry. I know you comment all the time, but I don't actually know your name. She was given a Husqvarna from the late 80s. She took it to the shop and the repairman was quite excited about it. Said that it was the top of the line at the time. And now you just have to learn how to use it. Yeah, so I'll tell you, every time somebody gifts me a Husqvarna, especially an Emerald or a Viking, that makes me very happy. So I have about 6 of those in the classroom, and those are the ones that I let the kids take home. So if they want to sew at home, I send those ones. And my repairman was quite excited about them as well. So yeah, if you can get your hands on an older machine, do a little bit of research and check out what it is. If you ever have a question, you can go ahead and email me. We did put the email in the chat earlier today, but that is, my email is yoursewingteacher568@gmail.com. You can go ahead and shoot questions to me anytime you'd like, and I'll see if I can help you. Let's see. I'm gonna see what else we have for questions. I'm still excited and I'm still raring to go, so I don't have to leave yet if you guys don't have to. Let's see. Just seeing what other questions we had. Oh, I was talking about yeah, I was talking about machines. So I was talking about the domestic versus the industrial. One of the things that I've never really I've really not explored, I suppose, is the electronic machines. So this machine here behind me, it has some electronics to it because it is an embroidery machine. So it is really, that's all of the electronic stuff I've ever done. Everything else that I've ever gotten, all the other machines I've ever used have been, I don't even know what they call them, manual machines, I suppose. And I feel like I don't really want to go electronic because I'm afraid of like failed motherboards and like all the electronic problems that can come with that. Apparently, if you have really heavy magnets and you leave them close to your electronic machines, they say that it wipes the machines. But I have all of these magnet bowls everywhere and they sit beside that machine, and I've never had any problems with that machine. So analog, yeah, that's a good, yeah, they're definitely analog machines for sure. Okay, so what else can I answer? I've done that page and I did this page. Okay, those ones are all done. Okay, let's see if I can find more questions. Sorry, everybody. Oh, we've lost some people. I think they were probably here the full hour and decided to be gone. Let's see. I had a lot of questions. Does my daughter sew too? So, all of the kids have been taught how to sew, but nobody is really interested and wants to sew on a regular basis. You know, if they have something that they want, I usually, if I'm going to make it for them, I make them sit with me while I make it, because otherwise I'm stuck in this room all by myself all the time. And now that they're older, I want them to hang out with me as much as possible because they don't want to hang out with me. So I have them sit with me, and they will take over. Um, but usually it's if they have something specific that they want to try, that they take a machine out in the other room, and then they sew by themselves. But it doesn't happen very often. I'll tell you, my mom taught me when I was about 10. And then I was a figure skater, so my mom would, make my skating stuff, and then she kind of got tired of putting sequins on and things, so she taught me how to do all of the embellishments. And then I didn't really sew from the age of 20 until after the kids were born. So my daughter was born when I was 29, and she, let's see, I didn't start sewing again until she was about 8. So, um, yeah, 2010. So I didn't really start sewing again until about 2010. So from 97 to 2010, I didn't sew at all. I just was too busy, learning how to be a teacher and learning how to be a mom. And at that time, I was teaching English literature, and I wasn't teaching sewing. I didn't start teaching sewing until 2012. It was very exciting when they offered me the opportunity to start the program up again. So I was very, very happy with that. So, um, yeah, beanbag chairs and beanbags are really great. If you're looking for a really small project to do, and actually, I don't just make beanbags anymore. I make rice bags, because people can put the rice bags into the freezer and use them for, their eyes or for their body parts that need it. And oh, that's something I should tell you. If you ever want to make a rice bag and you want to make it so that it can go in the freezer, so it can be a cold bag, or you want to make it so that it can go in the microwave and be a hot bag, this is super important to know. You have to use cotton fabric with no polyester in it, and you have to use cotton thread, because if you use a polyester thread and you put it in the microwave, it will melt. So that's very important. And that is something that I searched and searched and searched through all of my thread to see if I had any cotton thread, and I didn't. Every single thread I had was polyester or nylon. So I had to actually specifically go out and buy cotton thread. So, okay, Suzette, thanks so much for joining me. I'm going to be wrapping it up soon anyway, but thank you. We're going to do this again in the last Saturday of every month. I'm going to do this. I might do it a little more often, but we'll just start with that. But thanks for joining me today, Suzette. I appreciate it. Rachel says when she went to school in the 60s, they had home ec, sewing, kitchen skills, and learning how to dust. Really? A lot of skills were handwork. They used Singer machines and no fancy stitches. Yeah. Yeah, you know what, Rachel? We still have what used to be called home ec. It's now called family studies. And at my school, the kids in grade 9 and 10, in grade 9, they do a basic family studies class where they do all of those things together. They do some parenting lessons. They do sewing lessons, cooking lessons. They talk about food and nutrition. They talk about healthy, active living. So when you come out of grade 9, you can then specialize. So you can choose to go and take the 3 fashion classes, or you can go and take the 3 different foods classes, or you can take a parenting class or a social studies class, or we have dynamics of human relationships. That's a really interesting class. We have an ethics class. We have world religion class. So really our social science department is attached to our family studies department. So we kind of branch out as they get older and they can choose what they want to learn. So yeah, I remember home ec. I took home ec when I was in high school, middle school and high school. I liked it because I was the only one who knew how to sew, and everybody else couldn't believe I made those shorts and that all those different pieces of clothing. So it says, besides practice, this is my next question. It says, besides practice, not giving up, besides practice and not giving up, what other tip would you give to someone who wants to be better at sewing? Well, I said earlier, to be better at sewing, do things more than once. Use YouTube. Obviously you are, because you're here. I still can't believe the things that you can learn how to do on YouTube. Go slow. Don't get impatient. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. And don't sit at a machine and think you have to start to finish a project on the same day. It's okay to just 10 minutes sew here, 10 minutes sew there. If your back is bad, then only sew for a little bit. If you have little kids, just sew when they're napping for a few minutes. One of the things that I like to do is I like to cut out multiple projects. Cutting is that's the bane of my existence when it comes to sewing. So anytime I'm doing a project and I have to I always trace my patterns. I never cut my patterns because I want to make sure that they can be used over and over again. So I use medical paper, the ones that the doctors pull on the medical beds, because it's the cheapest thing. Yeah, yeah. Don't worry, Rachel. The more you do it, the faster it gets. She says it takes her a long time to thread the machine, but keep your machine threaded if you can. That might be stick it behind the couch already threaded, and then just pull it out when you need to use it. That might be handy. Save you that 10 minutes. So yeah, just make sure that you know that it doesn't matter how long it takes you to do something, and know that the second time you do it, it will take less time, and the third time it will take less time. And the more you sew, the better you get at it. It's like riding a bike. If you used to be a sewer and you haven't sewn in 20 years, you just start again. Choose a simple project and sew. It's just like getting on a bike. You won't fall off. You might, wobble here or there, but you won't fall off. So it's the same with sewing. I still make big mistakes. Like, I've been sewing a long time, and I'll make the silliest mistakes, especially if I'm sewing at night when I'm tired. Sometimes I just want to get it done. And it's like 11:30 at night. I don't know what I'm doing. I should probably just go to bed, because the mistake I'm about to make is going to take me till 1 o'clock in the morning to pull out, and I don't want to be, picking threads until 1 o'clock in the morning. So just dropping it and going to bed and picking up the next day or 2 days or a week later is fine. I mentioned earlier practicing straight lines, wavy lines. That's a good thing to do. Taking scrap fabric and just practicing on scrap fabric. Making sure you're not pulling or pushing the material. Just let the machine guide that itself. So when you're looking at your machine, underneath the foot, so if this is the foot, underneath the machine, there's these teeth, and the teeth go like this. Oh, I should even it up. The teeth go like this, and those teeth are called feed dogs. And those feed dogs, that's what propels the fabric and moves the fabric forward. So if we're pushing and pulling against that, we're going to have tension problems, and we don't want tension problems, that's for sure. Let me talk for a minute just about machines. It is important, if you sew every day, to have your machine serviced either annually or every 2 years. A lot of people, you know, they don't sew very often, so they put their machine away, then they take the machine out, and then the machine kind of acts up on them. But they would never think to take it in and have it serviced. And having a machine serviced changes it altogether. So that is something that you might want to just you know, if you haven't really thought about it, taking it in and having it serviced will kind of change your practice a little bit. The other thing is people don't realize how often you should be changing your needles. Um, This one says, thanks, Amy. I like the last question in your answer too. Hey, I wonder if Rachel's machine actually has a threader. I used my Singer for some time before I figured out what that thingy was. Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely correct. There is an auto threader on some of the newer machines that are like 2005 or newer. And I don't know if I can show it to you. I'm gonna take you off of here. Hold on. Okay. There's a little right here. You can see there's this little plastic doohickey that goes up and down like that. And you're not really sure what that is, but that is a self-threader. So when you pull this self-threader down, oh, this is bad, sorry guys. When you pull the self-threader down, it comes down and it goes through the needle. And it has a very minute, very tiny little hook on it that you can hook the thread onto, and then it will go onto the, and then it will go through. Sorry guys. It's so unprofessional. So yeah, and then it goes through the hook, and you just hook the thread on it, and then it pulls the thread through. So that's always something that if you don't know it's there, you would never actually like try to pull it down. So you can give that a try, Rachel, see if that's what that is. Yeah, so maintenance. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, those baby lock machines have a lot of automatic threading options, things like that. But yeah, thanks, Eco Quilting. That's an awesome suggestion for Rachel. I wasn't actually thinking about that, but yeah, keeping your machine threaded and tucked away somewhere threaded might help you with the time also. Needles, making sure that you are replacing your needles. Now, they actually say you're supposed to replace your needles every project. I would say that if you are using a lightweight fabric or a cotton woven, you could probably get away with 2 or 3 projects. My students, I let them go like 3 or 4 projects before I replace the needles. If you're doing something with denim or canvas or vinyl or leather, then you would want to change your needle more often. Okay, and that's the suggestion is every time you do a new project. Now, that suggestion is probably a suggestion made by the needle companies so they can make more money from you. But that is it. I mean, if you're skipping stitches or you're having problems with the tension of underneath with the threads, sometimes it's as simple as changing out your needle. So something to check on. Okay. Rachel, you have to check anyway, because sometimes even in the 80s machines, if it was a high-end machine in the 80s, it could have that threader. So make sure you give it a look. Okay, another thing for beginners to do, try different patterns and things that are outside your comfort zone. So earlier we had talk about, you know, bag makers coming over into garment making. You know, people who have made clothes before, trying something new, trying to make a wallet or a purse or a bag. There are some really fantastic patterns out there. So yeah, just try mixing it up a little bit. You know, just reach beyond where you think you are. Because the reaching beyond, because we often don't have confidence in what we can do, and we don't think that it's very good. But if you follow those basics, you know, right side to right side and lining up edges and doing those kinds of things every time, then you're okay to move on. Okay, there's beginners and then there's beginners, and then there's beginners, and they're all different stages of beginner. Okay, then you get into novice and intermediate and advanced sewists, and like I don't even know where I would place myself on that chart. You know, I might possibly be an advanced sewist, but there are certainly a lot of things I don't have practice doing. You know, can I make a blazer? Yes, I can. Um, have I ever custom fit a blazer and tailored it properly? I don't really know because I'm not trained in that, but I can use a pattern and I can make a blazer. Um, Oh, Rachel, I was talking about the fact that I don't really like hand sewing. I do teach the kids how to add a cross, a, I can't even say it, um, a, a ribbon. I'm not going to say the type of ribbon because I'm blocking on the word, but I do teach the kids when they're making a circle skirt to put a ribbon on the bottom of the hem, and then I teach them to iron it, and then I teach them how to do an invisible hem, but I also show them how to do a straight stitch hem also. But really, I don't do a lot of hand sewing with the kids. They do like a stuffed animal in grade 9, and that's kind of the introduction to sewing that they get. But I think that's it for today, everybody. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I still have, look, 23 people in the room and 26 thumbs up. I really appreciate it, everybody. I'm going to do this again. Probably another question and answer because I didn't get through half of the ones that I have here. I've got so much more I could talk about, and I'll probably do that in a couple weeks. So watch the community board, and I will. There you go. Eco Quilting says they have the little arm. Okay, that's great. And I'll go through more questions and answers with you in a couple weeks, and just watch the community post. I'll let you know when it's coming on, but definitely going to do this once a month, last Saturday of the month. We'll do either 7 or 8. I'll make sure you guys know when it is. And I'm so happy that I had so many of you. I was thinking I'd have like 2. So thanks so much, everybody, and I will talk to you soon. Watch the video tomorrow, and don't forget to like and comment. I appreciate it, everybody. Bye.